Giving away tickets all this week as host Michael Barkan and special guest College Football Hall of Famer Joe Theismann will be at the second annual Jackie and Hank Hertzkowitz Sports Night fundraising event Thursday night from 6 to 9 at the JCC on Jerome Avenue in Margate. Those tickets valued at $150 each. We gave them to you all this week. We'll tell you more about the event right now with our next guest here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. College Football Hall of Famer, former Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann, who will be a part of that night. He joins us now on the Bash 97.3 ESPN. Welcome back, Joe. How you been?
I've been well, Michael. Thank you.
Good to have you back, and you'll be in the area at a place. You know, I played growing up for the JCC basketball team. That's where I did my hooping when I was a young kid there. And you'll be there on Thursday night for a fundraising event that we gave tickets away. We had a lot of reaction to this. Tell everybody a little bit about that night.
Well, first of all, it's a wonderful opportunity, and I appreciate it to be able to raise some money for the kids and the seniors in the area, both in Atlantic and Cape May counties down that way. You know, it's funny, too, Mike. Traveling around the country, you hear everybody talk about the beach and all that, beaches in California, the beach down in Florida, the beach in North Carolina. We're the only ones that have the shore. The Jersey Shore is still a very sacred and sanctuary place. So it's great to be going home a little bit, being a Jersey kid growing up. And I just think it's an opportunity in life to be able to help people out. And the JCC does a terrific job. As you mentioned, you play basketball there. It goes back almost to 1912 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And then in 2012, I think they refurbished it. And they continue to do wonderful work in the communities. And like I said, I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to share some stories with everybody.
Yeah, and that will be a great night. Michael Barkan will host, and Joe Theismann will be there that night, amongst others, as you can get tickets. And, of course, we gave them all away, the jccatlantic.org, the website for the sports night, which is next Thursday, August the 18th. And we know Thursdays are special in August because typically that is when we get preseason football. And last night we got our first taste of it. And we saw here in Philly, Joe, the, I guess, future of the franchise, Carson Wentz. And I just want to get your take on the Eagles quarterback situation in general with Bradford and Daniel and then Wentz kind of waiting in the wing here. How do you what's your opinion on how the Eagles kind of have handled and, you know, assembled this quarterback grouping here?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that the position is so vital to the success of an organization. If you don't have a quarterback, you cannot be successful. And one of the things that has hurt Sam is the fact that he has been hurt so much that it's hard to really judge any kind of consistency with him. Although he's, to his credit, he's been able to command huge amounts of money based upon potential. And maybe this is the year that he gets to deliver. I went a little sideways with the fact that he got upset over the fact that they were drafting a quarterback and didn't tell him. So what? It's your job. You're making $35 million. They could draft Bart Starr and Joe Montana and Steve Young all at once, and it wouldn't matter. That was the way I looked at it, because if the job is that important to you, it doesn't matter who they bring in. Carson Wentz found out last night what professional football is really like. He throws for 50% in an interception. And that's not even against starting units. So, there's always a growth that goes along with the position. And, like I said, I went a little sideways with Sam simply because, to me, there wasn't any competition. You go out and play good football, they're not going to take him off the field. Mike, they're going to let him play football. Players and coaches aren't stupid. They see what's going on. They understand the business. If you can win for us, you're going to play. If you can't win for us, we're going to try and find somebody who can. It's a very simple formula.
Joe Theismann's with us. Joe will be at the JCC in Margate Thursday night for sponsorship and ticket information, 609-822-1167. Tickets are available to get yours for a great night, evening that fans out there, sports fans, will never forget it. A very good night, a silent auction, live sports memorabilia, and Joe will be speaking as well. Joe, I want to get your take down the road where you played in Washington, and what is the opinion of Kirk Cousins? Because last year he had a great year. They didn't fully commit to him yet, but will he make them have to commit to him?
I think he will. Mike, I've said this so many times, and I think probably have shared it with you a time or two, is that the quarterback position is the single most dependent position on the field. If the line doesn't block, if receivers don't catch, if runners don't gain yards on early downs, if defenses don't stop people, it's hard to win, no matter who you are. You look at the struggles of Tom Brady when Gronk is out of the lineup or Edelman's out of the lineup. We don't see the same efficiency that the offense runs at. One or two players missing makes a world of difference. The Eagles know that. They experienced it probably more on the defensive side than they did the offensive side. But from my perspective, Kirk Cousins is everything that you want a quarterback to be. He's smart. He's athletic. He's a diligent worker. He studies his rear end off. Has a great way to be able to communicate through the media the things that need to be answered and answered timely and properly. This has been such a wonderfully calm camp compared to the last 3 years. Robert was like a lightning rod here. For one reason or another. Jay would do a press conference, Robert would do a press conference, then Jay'd have to do another one to try and explain what Robert said. And then Robert would have to do another one to explain what Jay was saying. And it was back and forth and somewhat confusing. And I hope Robert has great success in Cleveland. I see that he's been named the starter, and I think having the full offseason to be able to work helps him. But Kirk Cousins earned this job. He took his time. And it wouldn't be a bad thing for Carson Wentz to sit for at least a year. And if Sam plays well, you never know what goes forward. But I think the Eagles did the right thing going and getting a young quarterback that fits what Doug wants and teach him, let him learn, because you want him to be a quarterback 10 years down the road. With the wear and tear on Sam, he's not a 10-year quarterback anymore. Maybe he's a 3. It's a little bit like Tony Romo down in Dallas.
Yeah.
The wear and tear, is it a one-year thing? Was he gone again with a broken collarbone, or does he put in a couple more good years?
Yeah, that's a big question in this division. You got two elder statesmen with Eli and Romo, both, and Eli has taken virtually every snap in his entire career, never hurt. Romo on the other side, always hurt. But you wonder, do those two guys, can they still play at the same level, especially Romo?
It's a fun division. You're right. You wonder if Tony's going to stay healthy, but it's a fun division to look at from a quarterback perspective and a coaching perspective. You have two new coaches in the division. You have a quarterback coming back off of injury. Eli's probably in as stable a situation, even more so than Kirk is in Washington, even though Kirk's been in the system 3 years. He's only operated at one. McAdoo up in with the Giants has had Eli for the last 3 years, I believe, and an offense that is explosive with explosive players. I mean, Odell Beckham is just a monster, and so you've got Dez Bryant down in Dallas. I mean, this place has a lot of stars, and it'll be interesting to see how they play against one another. They're all kinds of different styles going on in this division.
Washington won the division. Would you, because of that, label them as the best, the favorite, I should say, not the best, because I don't know that there is a best in this one. But are they the real deal? Because I don't know that a lot of people are buying them, Joe. No, there aren't a lot of people buying them, and they're perfectly fine with that. But if you look at the receiving core, you have great speed. I mean, I don't need to talk to the Eagle fans about Deshaun Jackson. They certainly know what he's capable of doing. Pierre Garçon has been just a rock. Jordan Reed, I think, is the best tight end in football. He's the most explosive tight end in football. His numbers bear that out. He's a great route runner, tremendous hands, really came into his own a year ago. The question will be, is Matt Jones going to be the back that they need him to be, and will we find some depth at the running back position? I think Kirk will be steady and stable, but, I mean, you completed 70% of your passes last year. That's a pretty high bar to try and go after again, although I think he can do it. He very much runs an offense like Steve Young ran the offense with a lefty thrower instead of the right. Very efficient on the shorter passes, but has the ability to complete the bombs if he needs to. So, and defensively, I think the Redskins will be so much better. The addition of Josh Norman, D'Angelo Hall moving to safety, David Bruton winding up at the other safety position, and Bashard Breeland. Those, that's a pretty darn good secondary. But the question is, and this is what every team faces, is how many people can you keep healthy and keep them on the field to be able to compete at full strength? I'll ask you this one. You mentioned Robert. He's going to play for Cleveland. He's the starter. The Eagles will see him week 1. Do you think he will be successful in his second stop?
I think he can, yes. Of course, I said Sam Bradford was going to be a Pro Bowler next year, so or last year. So you can, you can.
Well, if he plays the way he did down the stretch,
just a little outside, I think that one was. But
if he plays the way he did in the final 7 games, he might have a shot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just now it's a new system for him somewhat. But I think Robert has to stay healthy to be able to continue to develop as a pocket passer. If you see him start to get skittish, if his feet get away from him and he starts this happy feet movement and starts to flush out of pockets, it'll be an old habit that rears its ugly head, and then I would say he's going to struggle.
Was it that injury that really caused him the downfall, or was it just a bad relationship there? I mean, because he was he owned that town.
It wasn't the relationship. It was the fact that he hurts his knee, so he loses an entire off season to work on his trade, quarterbacking. Then he dislocates his ankle in the second game in the first quarter. He loses half of that season. Then all of a sudden he comes back, and now it's a continuation of rehab. Now you get a new coach. You have to learn a new system when you're not on the field. And then he has the concussion at the end, and Kirk steps in, and before you know it, I mean, that's what our business is all about.
No doubt.
Mike, I wouldn't let the backup quarterbacks take snaps in practice because I didn't want Coach Gibbs to know that they could play. As long as he didn't know they could play, he sort of had to stay with me through tough times.
Joe Theismann's with us, and he'll be in our area. Joe, can you update the listeners one more time why you'll be here and how they can get involved?
I'll be at the JCC Sports Night. We're going to be raising money for the scholarship program that'll help people in the Atlantic and Cape May counties down that way, and at the Cats JC Center. And I'm really looking forward to having a chance to have some fun and try and share some stories with some people and maybe touch some lives.
Yeah, that's Thursday night, and 609-822-1167 for tickets. Get yours, and there'll be a great night over there with a silent and live sports memorabilia auction, delicious food, an open bar, and you'll hear stories with Joe. Michael Barkan is your host from Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia. Joe, good to catch up with you, pal, and hopefully we'll talk some more football down through the season.
Anytime, Mike. Good catching up with you. Take care.